The massive spaceship drifted silently through the cold darkness of space, its metallic hull gleaming under distant starlight. Captain J. Park stood at the main observation deck, his large frame casting a shadow across the control panels. His team had been tracking an unusual planetary signal for weeks, a mysterious transmission that didn't match any known alien communication patterns. The planet appeared unremarkable from initial scans, a rust-colored world with thick atmospheric layers and strange geological formations. Most exploration teams would have dismissed it as another barren rock floating in the endless void. But something about this planet felt different. "Initiate landing sequence," Jay commanded, his voice steady and calm. The young crew members moved quickly, their hands dancing across holographic interfaces. They had trained for years for moments like these, potential first contact scenarios in unknown territories. As the ship descended through the planet's thick atmosphere, strange readings began to appear on their scanning equipment. Massive structures rose from the ground, not natural formations, but clearly engineered constructions that defied conventional understanding. These weren't simple buildings. They were enormous architectural marvels that seemed to blend perfectly with the planetary landscape. The landing site was a vast plateau surrounded by mountain ranges that looked like they had been deliberately shaped. Massive metal pillars rose from the ground, each at least 300 meters tall, creating a network of interconnected platforms and walkways. The scale was breathtaking. "Prepare reconnaissance drones," Jay instructed. His second-in-command, a young woman named Lisa, nodded and activated the remote exploration units. The small machines hummed to life, their advanced sensors scanning every inch of the surrounding terrain. The first drone transmitted its initial images back to the ship. What they saw made the entire crew pause in disbelief. The structures weren't abandoned. They were actively maintained. Traces of recent movement, complex energy signatures, and intricate technological networks suggested an advanced civilization was present. Suddenly, movement caught the drone's camera. A figure emerged from one of the massive structures. Impossibly large, at least 4 meters tall, moving with surprising grace. It wasn't an alien. It was a human, but not a human like anyone had ever seen before. The figure wore a sleek, environmental suit that seemed perfectly adapted to the planetary conditions. Its movement suggested enhanced strength and agility, far beyond standard human capabilities. This was no ordinary colonist. This was something entirely different. Jay's heart raced. Years of space exploration had prepared him for many scenarios, but this was unprecedented. A human settlement on a planet so far from known colonial territories, and at this scale. More figures appeared, moving between the massive structures with coordinated precision. They worked together, maintaining complex machinery, monitoring environmental systems, and seemingly existing in perfect harmony with their surroundings. The reconnaissance drones continued scanning, revealing more incredible details. These humans had not just survived on this planet, they had transformed themselves to become part of it. Their very biology seemed altered, adapted to the unique environmental challenges. "What are we looking at?" Lisa whispered, her voice a mix of wonder and confusion. Jay remained silent, watching the live feed. The planet was revealing its secrets slowly, meticulously. Each new image challenged everything they knew about human space exploration and planetary adaptation. The massive structures weren't just buildings. They were living systems, integrated so perfectly with the planetary environment that they almost seemed to breathe. Technological networks pulsed with energy, creating a complex ecosystem that blurred the lines between engineering and organic life. As the first drone completed its initial survey, Jay knew they had discovered something extraordinary. This wasn't just another human colony. This was a fundamental reimagining of what human existence could mean in the vast, unknown reaches of space. The rust-colored planet continued to spin silently, holding its secrets close, waiting for the next chapter of discovery to unfold. The Halion research vessel hung motionless above the planet, its sleek design dwarfed by the massive human structures below. Inside the control room, tension crackled like electricity. Captain J. Park and his team, prepared for the most critical moment of their exploration mission. Communication protocols were complicated. Standard galactic translation matrices seemed inadequate against the complex technological signatures emanating from the planet's surface. The humans had created communication networks that defied traditional understanding. Suddenly, a signal burst through their systems. It wasn't a standard transmission, but a nuanced, multi-layered communication that seemed to adapt in real time. The alien researchers watched in astonishment as the message reconfigured itself, becoming increasingly comprehensible. "We detect you," the message read, simple yet profound. "Approach with respect." The words appeared in multiple languages simultaneously, each version perfectly translated and culturally contextualized. It was clear these weren't ordinary colonists. They were something far more advanced. Lisa, the communication specialist, traced the signal's origin. It came from multiple points simultaneously, a distributed communication network that suggested collective intelligence beyond individual capabilities. The humans had created something that functioned more like a living organism than a traditional communication system. Preliminary scans revealed shocking details. The human settlement wasn't just surviving on this harsh planetary environment, they had become part of it. Their technological infrastructure blended so seamlessly with the landscape that it was difficult to determine where natural terrain ended and artificial construction began. Large figures moved across distant platforms. Even through digital imaging, their size was intimidating. These humans stood nearly 4.5 meters tall, with body structures that suggested deliberate genetic modification. They weren't just adapted to the planet, they had redesigned themselves to become its perfect inhabitants. A secondary communication channel opened. This time, the message was more direct. "We are ready for dialogue. Prepare your translation." Protocols. The alien research team exchanged worried glances. Their entire understanding of interstellar colonization was being challenged in moments. These humans represented something entirely unexpected, a civilization that didn't just explore planets, but fundamentally transformed themselves to become part of those worlds. Dr. Sung Wei, the lead researcher, began calibrating advanced linguistic algorithms. The incoming communication wasn't just a language. It was a complex information exchange that seemed to carry cultural, technological, and biological data simultaneously. "They're offering us a conversation," he muttered, fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "But not in any way we've experienced before." The planetary surface below seemed to pulse with energy. Massive structures shifted subtly, suggesting they were more than static buildings. They were living, breathing systems that responded to environmental and communication changes. A new transmission arrived. This time, it carried visual data, not just images, but a comprehensive sensory experience that seemed to communicate entire concepts in milliseconds. The alien researchers found themselves experiencing the planet's environment, its complex ecosystem, and the humans' integration into it. The message was clear. These humans weren't colonists. They were planetary architects, biological engineers who had reimagined what it meant to exist in an alien environment. Captain J. Park watched the transmissions with a mix of professional curiosity and deep respect. This wasn't a first contact scenario they had trained for. This was something entirely new, a potential paradigm shift in understanding interstellar human expansion. "Prepare initial response," he instructed, "but proceed with maximum caution." The alien vessel's communication systems hummed with anticipation. They were about to engage with a human civilization that had transformed the very definition of human existence. As the first detailed communication protocols began to exchange, one thing became abundantly clear. Everything they thought they knew about human space exploration was about to change forever. The planet continued to spin, its rust-colored landscape holding secrets that would challenge the foundations of galactic understanding. The laboratory was unlike anything the alien researchers had ever seen. Massive transparent walls stretched high, filled with complex biological systems that seemed to breathe and pulse with living energy. Dr. Yoon Park moved between intricate genetic mapping stations, her enhanced body moving with precision that defied normal human limitations. "We are not just survivors," she explained to the stunned alien research team. "We are planetary adaptation specialists. Genetic analysis revealed extraordinary modifications. These humans had completely re-engineered their biological systems to survive in the most challenging environments. Their bones were now composed of a unique carbon-titanium hybrid material that could withstand extreme pressures. Muscle structures contained microscopic adaptive cells that could instantly reconfigure based on environmental demands. The most shocking revelation was their respiratory system. Traditional human lungs had been replaced with advanced biomechanical filters that could process multiple atmospheric compositions. Where normal humans would suffocate, these modified humans could breathe easily. Blood samples showed something even more remarkable. Their circulatory system contained nano-engineered cellular structures that could repair damage instantaneously. Radiation, extreme temperatures, chemical exposures, nothing seemed to compromise their biological integrity. "Evolution is no longer a natural process," Dr. Park explained. "It's a deliberate scientific strategy." The alien researchers watched in disbelief as she demonstrated. A sample of her blood, when exposed to what would be lethal radiation for standard humans, simply adapted. The cells restructured themselves, creating protective shields and neutralizing potential damage. Genetic memory was another breakthrough. These humans could now transfer learned experiences directly through cellular structures. Knowledge wasn't just learned. It was literally embedded into their DNA, passed down through generations with perfect preservation. Their sensory systems had been completely reimagined. Standard human vision, hearing, and touch had been enhanced to perceive far beyond normal limitations. They could detect molecular changes, read environmental shifts, and process complex data streams through their nervous system. "We don't conquer planets," Dr. Park continued. "We become part of them." Each human in this colony represented a living experiment in biological engineering. They weren't just humans who had adapted to a new world. They were a new form of intelligent life that could transform itself at will. Reproductive systems had also been modified. Genetic diversity was now a carefully managed process. Couples could select and combine genetic traits with microscopic precision, ensuring each new generation was perfectly suited to their planetary environment. The alien research team's lead, scientist Dr. Kim, struggled to process the information. "This isn't just adaptation," he whispered. "This is complete biological reinvention. Nutritional requirements had been transformed. These humans could process nutrients from sources that would be toxic to standard biological systems. Minerals, chemical compounds, even certain forms of radiation could be converted into energy and cellular building blocks. Their immune systems were perhaps the most advanced feature. Instead of fighting external threats, these modified humans could instantly recognize, understand, and integrate potentially harmful organisms. Viruses and bacteria didn't just get destroyed. They got studied and potentially repurposed. "We are not fighting nature," Dr. Park explained. "We are negotiating with it." The laboratory walls seemed to pulse with living information. Complex, holographic displays showed generations of genetic modifications, each iteration more advanced than the last. This wasn't just scientific research. It was a living document of human potential. The alien researchers realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. These humans had transformed the very concept of biological existence. They weren't just a species. They were a dynamic, self-modifying intelligent system capable of instant adaptation. As the presentation concluded, one thing became crystal clear. Humanity was no longer defined by its original biological limitations. They had become something entirely new, planetary architects who could reshape themselves as easily as breathing. The rust-colored world outside continued to spin, holding secrets of a human civilization that had completely reimagined what it meant to be alive. The meeting hall was massive, its walls constructed from materials that seemed to shift and breathe with living energy. Jin Choi stood at the center, his towering frame representing humanity's diplomatic presence. The alien delegation watched carefully, their technological sensors working overtime to understand every subtle movement. "We are explorers," Jin began, his voice carrying a calm complexity that surprised the alien researchers. Our size is not a weapon. Our modifications are not a threat. We seek understanding. The alien team had prepared for countless diplomatic scenarios, but nothing in their extensive training could have prepared them for this encounter. These humans weren't just different, they were fundamentally reimagined as a species. Cultural. Exchange began with an unexpected gesture. Instead of complex political negotiations, the humans offered something more profound, a complete sensory experience of their planetary adaptation. Holographic displays emerged, not as presentations, but as living memories that could be directly experienced. The aliens watched as generations of human history unfolded. They saw how this colony began, not as a military conquest or resource extraction mission, but as a collaborative scientific experiment. Ordinary humans had voluntarily transformed themselves, understanding that survival meant becoming part of the environment, not fighting against it. Jin explained their philosophical approach. "We do not own planets," he said. "We develop relationships with them. Each world is a partner, not a resource to be consumed." The diplomatic protocols were unlike anything in galactic records. Where most species approached new worlds with extraction and colonization in mind, these humans viewed planetary exploration as a mutual conversation. They didn't just study environments, they became part of them. Technological exchanges revealed even more surprising details. The humans shared knowledge freely, without the usual political calculations or strategic reservations. Their communication systems were designed to be open, adaptive, and collaborative. "Information is not a weapon," Jin continued. "It's a bridge between different experiences." The alien researchers discovered that human culture had fundamentally changed. Traditional concepts of individual identity had transformed. These humans thought collectively, acted collaboratively, and viewed personal achievement as something that benefited the entire community. Their social structures were fluid and dynamic. Leadership wasn't about power, but about collective problem-solving. Each individual was both a specialist and a generalist, capable of understanding complex systemic challenges and contributing unique solutions. Educational systems had been completely reimagined. Learning was no longer about memorizing information, but about developing adaptive thinking skills. Children were taught to view challenges as opportunities for collective growth. Economic models were equally revolutionary. Resources weren't accumulated, but continuously circulated. The concept of personal wealth had been replaced by a more sophisticated understanding of collective well-being. The alien delegation realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. These weren't just humans who had adapted to a new planet. They were a new form of intelligent life that represented a radical reimagining of biological and cultural potential. As the diplomatic session continued, the aliens began to understand that this wasn't just a human colony. It was a living laboratory of evolutionary potential. Each modification, each cultural practice represented a deliberate step towards a more adaptive, collaborative form of existence. Jin's final statement captured the essence of their approach. "We are not trying to be better than other species," he explained. "We are simply trying to be the best version of ourselves we can imagine." The meeting hall seemed to vibrate with possibility. The alien researchers understood that this encounter was more than a diplomatic exchange. It was a glimpse into a potential future where intelligence wasn't defined by technological power, but by adaptive potential and collaborative spirit. Outside, the rust-colored planet continued its silent rotation, holding the promise of a new understanding of what it means to be alive, to explore, and to grow. The cultural exchange had become something far more profound than anyone had expected, a conversation about the very nature of intelligent existence. The galactic conference hall fell silent when the first transmission arrived. Researchers from hundreds of different civilizations watched as the comprehensive report about the human planetary adaptation was presented. What they saw would change everything they understood about interstellar exploration. Dr. Marcus, the lead researcher from the Galactic Research Consortium, struggled to process the information. These humans had done something unprecedented. They hadn't just colonized a planet, They had become the planet. The holographic display showed generations of human transformation. Where other species saw challenges, these humans saw opportunities for complete biological redesign. Their approach was not about conquering environments, but about developing a deep symbiotic relationship with planetary ecosystems. Initial skepticism quickly transformed into profound respect. The human colony represented a completely new model of interstellar expansion. They didn't bring external technologies to change worlds. Instead, they modified themselves to understand and integrate with each unique planetary system. Genetic records showed how they had transformed. Their bodies were no longer fixed biological structures, but adaptive systems that could reconfigure based on environmental needs. Bones could become stronger, lungs could process different atmospheric compositions, and cellular structures could repair themselves instantaneously. This is not just adaptation, Dr. Marcus explained to the stunned conference. This is a complete reimagining of biological potential. The economic implications were equally revolutionary. Traditional resource extraction models became obsolete. These humans demonstrated that true planetary interaction was about understanding, not consumption. They generated energy, processed environmental data, and contributed to planetary ecosystems instead of destroying them. Communication technologies presented another breakthrough. Where other species used complex communication systems, these humans had developed something more profound, a collective intelligence that functioned like a living network. Information didn't just flow between individuals, it became a shared, adaptive experience. Educational models were completely transformed. Learning was no longer about acquiring knowledge, but about developing adaptive thinking capabilities. Children were taught to view challenges as opportunities for collective growth and personal transformation. The alien research teams discovered something even more surprising. These humans weren't just scientifically advanced, they were philosophically revolutionary. Their entire approach to existence was based on collaboration, continuous learning, and mutual respect. Political structures had become fluid and dynamic. Leadership wasn't about power, but about collective problem-solving. Each individual contributed unique perspectives, and decisions emerged through comprehensive dialogue rather than hierarchical control. As the presentation continued, researchers from different civilizations began to understand the profound implications. This wasn't just a successful colonial experiment, it was a potential blueprint for a new kind of intelligent existence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a human representative, explained their approach. "We don't see ourselves as separate from our environment," she said. "We are a living part of the planetary system. Our growth is the planet's growth." The Galactic Conference realized they were witnessing a fundamental paradigm shift. These humans had transformed the very concept of interstellar exploration. They weren't conquerors or researchers. They were collaborative partners with entire planetary systems. Technological demonstrations showed how they had integrated with their environment. Buildings weren't just constructed. They were living systems that could adapt, repair, and communicate. Energy systems worked in perfect harmony with natural planetary cycles. As the presentation concluded, a profound silence filled the conference hall. The implications were clear. Traditional models of space exploration, resource extraction, and planetary interaction were now obsolete. The human colony represented something more than a successful settlement. It was a living example of what intelligent life could become, when it approached the universe with curiosity, respect, and a willingness to transform. Dr. Marcus made a final statement that would be remembered for generations. "We are not just discovering new worlds. We are learning how to become part of them." The holographic displays faded, leaving behind a sense of wonder and potential. Hundreds of alien researchers understood that everything they thought they knew about space exploration had just changed forever. The universe, it seemed, was about to become a very different place,